Just why did actor and producer Isaiah Washington decide to join the Walkaway movement? What, through his eyes, is the significance of the First Step Act and its role in the process of prison reform in America? And how does political correctness fit into all of this? This is American Thought Leaders, and I'm Jekielek. Today we sit down with Isaiah Washington, an actor and producer who started his career in Hollywood in a number of Spike Lee films. He is perhaps best known for his role as Dr. Preston Burke in the television show Grey's Anatomy. More recently, he starred in the science fiction TV series The 100. We discuss his career, criminal justice reform, identity politics, the proliferation of victim mentality in America, and Washington's unique take on the issue of reparations. Isaiah Washington, wonderful to have you on American Thought Leaders.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thank you.
You know, I was telling you earlier, I wasn't a big Grey's Anatomy guy. I didn't watch the show very much, but I remember this...
You're an anomaly.
I remember this really disturbing character I'd seen in actually one of my favorite films, Out of Sight.
Oh, my God.
And then I was looking at you. Oh, my goodness. It's been a few years.
That was me. That was him. Was Kenneth. It was Elmore Leonard. He was on the set when we did our final scene in Detroit. And you know, when I approach my work, I really try to rely on the writing. Usually I try to stick to the writing. No matter what the director is doing or saying, I believe the writing is the blueprint of everything.
Right.
You know, we wouldn't be there if it weren't for the writing.
Right.
So why are we going to veer from it now? So, you know, I got a really wonderful compliment from Elmore Leonard himself, I think before he passed away, because he wrote the book.
Right.
And he said, you know what? You nailed it, kid. You nailed it. That's how I saw Kenneth. So,
no, unbelievable. And I think about that film, it's something about how it's all put together in this, it's just this amazing package of all the characters working together. It's funny, I still remember it very, very distinctly. But listen, so speaking of acting, how did you get into acting? I know there's an interesting story there.
Yes, actually, it was an interesting journey.
Okay.
Or entryway. Even before what we talked about offline, I was working at IBM as a temp, a Kelly's temp. And the real story is I had a crush on one of the executives there, working as in the expediting department. I was the guy that called you guys to make sure to get your accounts current, you owe money. So I was a pretty good expediter. So I had a crush on this young lady, and she said, well, you're an interesting guy, but, you know, if you want to go out with me, you got to become born again. Well, I'm like, okay, sure, whatever it takes. So went to church, got dunked underwater, got baptized, fell in love with Jesus. I wasn't interested in her so much. Next thing I know, I was more interested in Christianity and Jesus than I was her, and found myself doing a gospel play, the first gospel play called Frank and Beans in Gaithersburg, Maryland, outside of Washington, D.C., where I met Michael, my music director for that play, and in the church. And he said, you know what, you're really talented. You need to take this seriously. And I think you should really see if you can find a way to enroll yourself in college and study this seriously. And of course, I didn't know anything about acting schools or anything. And it was him that pointed me in the direction of Howard University.
Okay.
And at that time, I'd already had a lot of credits, a 2-year degree in aerospace engineering that I was able to transfer. So when I finally matriculated at Howard University, I went in as a junior and worked my butt off, auditing the classes. My professor, who's still alive today, Vera Katz, she was the teacher of Debbie Allen, my mentor, Harry Poe, Stanley Mathis, Taraji P. Henson, Anthony Anderson, Chadwick Boseman. We've all come, Debbie Allen and Felicia Rashad Allen, of course. We've all come out of her class.
Fascinating.
And her approach and style and technique, I still use to this day. That was taught to me by Professor Vera Katz. So it's very structured, very important to me. It's not method and all these other crazy things that people put onto it, but it works off of verbs of actions and very clear thoughts and how you build characters and layer them and make them so full with information that the world doesn't know about outside, in addition to the script, that it feels like it's a real person. And it's been working for me for 30 years, so I'm not going to change it.
And then what about the step into Hollywood, into the big time?
My mentor, Harry Poe, at the time, who was part of the Ebony Impromptu Theater in D.C., and then he moved. Helped us with. I was the first originating member. I was the first originating cast member or company member for City Kids Repertory, which is still doing very well on 57 Leonard Street, still helping a lot of children at risk, still doing great things in that nonprofit space. But
Okay.
I was one of the original members and founders of that company. So we finally got to New York. I found myself getting booked in some commercials, One Life to Live, As the World Turns, soap
Okay.
operas.
Okay.
I was able to show up, but I looked too young at the time. Even though I was in my 30s, I looked like my son that you met.
Okay.
You know, like I was in my 20s.
Yeah.
Then I was discovered by Forrest Whitaker for a HBO film that he was brought on to direct, his first time directing actually, called Strapped. And we were dealing with guns, the proliferation of guns in the community, particularly disenfranchised communities in New York,
Okay.
with a lot of the gang activity that was happening back in the early 90s. This was 91, I believe. And at that point, I think a year later, he showed a rough cut of Strapped to a gentleman named Spike Lee.
Okay.
And I think apparently to get some advice. And I think, Spike fancied himself for knowing all of the talent that's available to him at the time in New York. And he was trying to figure out why he didn't know me. And I didn't have that many scenes. I maybe had 2 or 3 scenes, but, I prepared for them, and apparently they were strong enough for me to get his attention. And at that point, Robbie Reed, his prolific casting director at the time,
Right.
very powerful woman at the time, reached out to my agents, I think, at the time. Next thing I know, I was auditioning for Crooklyn. Auditioned among some of the biggest names at the time, Bokeem Woodbine, Leon, Cuba Gooding Jr. I mean, the names were endless. Every black actor at the time was going for this role. Terrified. Went in, did my job, scared the bejesus out of them, scared the bejesus out of me. They thought it was real. Next thing I know, well, I just sabotaged that moment. I'm not going to get that job. It was too real. Next thing I know, I get the job. That was my first film experience on Crooklyn, actually my first time on a set ever. And whatever I learned in terms of the technical aspect of film acting, I learned from Spike. And my mentor always said, he said, well, the only way someone like you are going to get into Hollywood is going to be only 3 ways. And I said, what do you mean? He said, well, the first way is going to be Spike Lee.
Okay.
And I said, great. What's the second way? He said, the second way you're going to get in is through Spike Lee. And I said, well, what's the third way? Third way you're going to get into Hollywood is through Spike Lee. And he was right. The first 3 films, Crooklyn, Clockers, and then by the time we got to Girl 6, that was my 3rd film with Spike. And by that time, I had made a name for myself back in 1995. From 92 to 95, those 3 years, those 3 movies helped me compete in Hollywood at a Hollywood level at that point.
But surely not every black actor would have to go through Spike Lee. Why did you have to go to Spike Lee according to...
Well, at that time, for my mentor, he was the most prolific African-American director out there that was telling black stories that he felt I would fit in and be able to contribute to. Because of just who I am, what I look like. I don't know if I'm going to get a chance to star in a movie opposite of Tom Cruise just coming out of nowhere.
Right.
It just doesn't work like that in Hollywood. So I think that's pretty much what he was saying, is that you get in where you get in where you fit in, kind of thing. And at that time, Spike was the go-to guy. If you wanted to be in a big movie, if Hollywood wasn't going to hire you, then Spike is the only way that you're going to be seen in a movie. And pretty much at that time, that was pretty accurate at that
You
time.
got the break.
I got the break after Girl 6, and then I did a movie in '96 called Get on the Bus. And then from there, the phone just started ringing with offers, Out of Sight, Bullworth with Warren Beatty.
Right.
Clint Eastwood didn't know who I was, but his wife did. She was a Spike Lee fan. So, yeah, at that time I did a bigger break because it was my first outside of Universal Pictures that Spike did all of his movies with, which is a big deal. But Warner Brothers Pictures is also a big deal. Never got a chance to work with Paramount at the time or yet, but to have a contract with Warner Brothers and have a contract with Universal Pictures 3 times and then branch out into 20th Century Fox with Warren Beatty. I covered some of the major studios they were able to see me and my work at the time, which is very difficult to do because it's just so competitive, not just for African American actors, but
for anybody,
for anybody to
Right.
get any long-standing attention. But my work, as I still try to rely on that today, is that my work is my calling card. I'm only as good as I am in the last project. I don't hold on to what I did in the project before. It's like you're only as good as your last gig. So that gives me the energy to strive harder and want to learn and break away from old habits, old tricks, and really be as authentic about the process as I possibly can.
Fascinating. So I'm going to jump ahead a little bit. You're just making me think of, there's this quote that I read from you, which I thought was very interesting in the light of what you just said. And you said, there was a point at which, because of your views, now after all of this, because of your openness about your views perhaps, that essentially the media kind of turned on you. And there's a whole bunch of rigmarole. We don't need to get into that. But you said something like this: they may have killed off the actor, but they created a producer.
Yes, that's correct.
So what did you mean by that?
It's tongue in cheek, I realized as an African American, what I was really saying was a shot across the bow. Is that it was very difficult for me to make a good name for myself, and you decide you want to run it in the mud for whatever reasons, whatever the context or whatever reasons. But the good news is, I can now get work as a producer because I still am who I am. People still respect my body of work. I still understand the space of how to produce things and contribute to that space. And I've now discovered that, being a producer and being African American is even harder than being an actor because it's a space that is not conducive to wanting me to be there, to be in charge, to have a say in the concept.
Right.
That's a space that's for someone else. That usually doesn't, a lot of guys and girls that don't look like me. So it's been exciting coming back as a producer since 2011 and to have the producing credits and be able to figure out how I want to go about and contribute to this industry in a way as an independent filmmaker and help others, come to the level that they feel that I am. And accelerate their levels of talent and their platform. And I've been doing it a lot on Facebook, Twitter. Majority of the films that I produce, I've gotten on Facebook. Blackbirds, Blue Caprice, even I was on my book tour.
Okay.
When I got The Under Shepherd, that was for TV One, which is the largest original movie that made all kinds of sponsored dollars for them. First foray into making original movies for that network.
Right.
But I did it because I wanted to be a producer on that. I didn't just want to be a hired hand. So usually things that I really focus on, that I try to work hard at, that I want to do, I usually get done. I don't have a problem starting over. I don't have a problem doing everything. I do everything in 10-year intervals. I don't believe any business or any company or any passion that you have, you can successfully win with it in 5 years. I think that model is passé. I don't believe in that model because technology, things move too fast. There's too many more people on the planet, too much more levels of obstacles and competition to deal with, which is organic and authentic. So this idea that you're going to start something and it's going to blow up overnight, how are you going to sustain it? And if it does happen, what if it doesn't work in 5 years? Then what if it works that 6th year and you just walk away from it? What if you need 7 years? Maybe you need 7 years and a month. So this idea that, 5 years, I'm gonna get an ROI, I'm done. It's like, no, that's a 1950s model. We're in the 21st century. If you're really gonna build something that's gonna be super solid, it's probably gonna take 10 to 20 years to sustain itself.
It actually reminds me a lot of the Epoch Times when you say that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
How long has the Epoch Times been around?
So since 2000, basically. So
almost 20 years.
Yeah,
and now I'm starting to like. That's why we talk like, wow, I'm seeing it everywhere now.
Yeah,
but it's been around for almost 20 years.
It's been similarly long-term outlook, right?
Wow.
Absolutely. just like you said. So, you also mentioned, not walking away quickly, but you actually did walk away somewhat recently. And this is actually what, kind of put you on my radar, because I'm very interested in folks that are doing things, let's say, out of the mainstream norm. And this is one of these things. So what prompted you to decide to, hashtag walk away?
Even the very news outlet that I helped build a brand with, TV1, owned by Kathy Hughes, okay, who I considered a friend, still do, and a mentor. But it was her brand, News 1 Hour. I don't want to give them credit, but here it is. They came after me after I visited the White House. And
This is after the First Step Act?
yeah.
Oh, really?
And they really came after me and was dredging up narratives that weren't correct 12 years ago. And I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. You guys are supposed to be my friends here, So you've gone from this liberal mindset to this, or you're just trying to get some clickbait? But I was like, my brand is very important to me at this point. I worked very hard to sustain myself when it was in transition and all these things. So I shouldn't be having to have conversations about something that happened 12 years ago and it was wrong then. This is not right, because whatever fan base or all the work I've done, 10 years ago, someone was 10. Or 12 years, someone was 10. Now they're 22. And they're reading the internet. We don't have the right as the citizens in America, the right to forget. So if something was wrong or inaccurate or even the truth, you have a shelf life. It should go away after 10 years, like your credit. After 7 years, the slate is clean.
Right.
So when you're still writing things, I call that yellow journalism. And I felt like, okay, I'm old enough to know what yellow journalism is and what it can do.
Right.
And I called them on that. And after I put a tweet out that said my truth. I'm sitting here in the East Room looking at this great thing happening. I see this president that the world is telling us to dislike for a number of reasons. I don't agree with a lot of things, but I cannot deny this good feeling that I saw in this room. I'm a human being.
Yeah.
I'm not going to deny what I just saw. I'm an actor, and I'm a really good one. And I know acting when I see it. And I'm telling you, that was no acting in this moment when I saw the president go off teleprompter and allow what's supposed to have just been some, decorations for him to feel good about the First Step Act. They were never supposed to have an opportunity to be heard.
Yeah,
And I was in the
remember
perfect
that.
seat, actually sitting in some seats that the Congress people who didn't want to show up that were Democrat. So I got to be even closer to the stage.
Okay.
Now, this is the body where the East Room is where they laid Abraham Lincoln. This is the same room where they laid, and stayed John F. Kennedy. So you got all of this energy that's going on in this very old house, right?
Right.
And then this moment happens. I'm not even sure whether 45 wanted it to happen. But it was the truth. And I saw it with my own eyes. It doesn't matter what he says about the windmills the next day. It doesn't matter of what his personal life was before he became president. I saw something that happened that was historical, and I will never back down from that. I will always be supportive of him in the First Step Act because I was there. And I saw the people that so many people were working so hard for actually have a say to thank all of those bipartisan individuals for a bipartisan bill to be signed into law. Man, that was amazing. So that's what I tweeted. And what I was saying, the juxtaposition is, like, I've been working so hard over this with 44, never got the bop. And we talked about it when he was a senator, and I'm going to keep bringing that up because that's my story. I talk about it in my book. It's not that I'm trying to get attention or get some shine. I had a relationship with him. I checked my emails in this man's office while he was running for president. I helped put up his book. So it's not that reciprocity out of making things good for our people in the black agenda. I thought we were on that same page. Clearly we were not, and that's okay. He had a lot of other things to do. In the recession, he had a lot of things on his plate. But you can't stop me from having the freedom of speech to post a feeling of my experience. Now, that experience got the attention of Fox News. Isaiah Washington slams Barack Obama and supports. Well, the code in that is, look at this. He's black. So Trump supporters can't possibly be racist. Of course you can. it's just another trick, another wave of the wand, which was really good because it got your attention as well. So I said, okay, you're right. I'll double down on that. And I challenged News 1 Hour. You can't bring up this inaccurate narrative. I'm not going to stand for it. I have Twitter. Fake news. Hashtag. That's the once I did that, I picked up about 26,000 Trump supporters on my Twitter, because now we are now opened up a conversation that I think is an important conversation.
Right.
Having individuals be able to articulate what it feels like to vote for someone based on policies or promises of policies, and then be horribly, horribly abused, ostracized, and called all kinds of bigots and racists and all kinds of things, and you're not. So all the things that people have been calling me over the years that these same people have watched, like, where's Isaiah? I don't see him. I haven't seen him, and where's he doing? Then it was like out of pain became power.
Fascinating.
Because now people who silently been looking, the silent majority who's been looking at me is like, I never thought he got a good deal. He got a raw deal. But you just move on. You deal with life. You pay your bill. You cook your food. You pay your bills. You get your kids in college. You don't think about me because I still got a great life. I'm still working, still living. He'll be fine. He'll land on his feet. But then when you see this narrative come back again, when he is only there trying to support a good thing, do a good thing, end mass incarceration. And then we got to get into a debate and an argument of this administration was this, they got obstruct. Look, here's the thing. No one cares about the fish that got away.
Okay.
No one cares about the story. You can sit there and talk about, as an angler, like, oh my God, he was 200 pounds. I had him, and he was almost there. He had to be the biggest. Oh my God. And the line broke.
It's not a story. Yeah.
It's a story, but there's no evidence that conveys what your experience. The First Step Act is evidence, a historical document that is the first step out of many to end a diabolical plan that has caused so much destruction in the black community in our time. Hands down, the war on drugs, all the other stuff. It was connected to the criminal bill in '94. We know who put that together. Don't need to give him any airtime on that. So, yeah, man, if 45 gets nothing else right for me, he got that one right. And I'm going to always support him on that and any other initiatives or policies where we can really get a handle on prison reform and then eventually criminal reform. Absolutely.
So kind of refreshing that you're going to, vote with your heart, vote based on, or choose based on policy and, what you believe in, what you agree with,
That's
as
right.
opposed to partisanship. I also read that some people are asking, are you Republican now, Isaiah?
They'll find out soon enough. If they really truly want to dig deep, it's public information. I mean, if they really cared, which most people don't, I think at the end of the day, they're marveling at this celebrity that is supporting President Trump's policies or the First Step Act or celebrating him. I'm supporting something that I feel strongly about as an African-American man. When I was much younger, in my 20s in New York, I was vulnerable to being caught in any situation, whether I did the crime or not. I remember that fear in New York at the time, during a very polarizing time, Mayor Koch years and Mayor Dinkins years. There was a lot of racial tension, even more so, greater than it is today. And it seems to happen like every 20 years. There's new people fighting for certain resources that feel they are entitled to a certain space and things. So it seems like every day someone turns 35 and they wake up and realize I can't afford to be a nice guy anymore. I got to get it because I'm almost 40. That's what I'm sort of feeling. It's like, and then they realize, well, you didn't prepare, whoever you are, you didn't prepare for it. So there's no entitlement here. If you prepare for it, then you wouldn't be in the predicament you're in. If you worked hard for it, you wouldn't be in the predicament you're in. That's kind of the overlying narrative that people think, well, work your ass off, work your ass off. Well, okay, well, there are a group of people and women that work their behinds off as well, and they're still not getting their justice, be it financially, be it in the criminal system, be it the medical field. You know, many women go into the hospital, and certain people have the mindset, it's like, oh, you're a woman, you're fine. You know, you're complaining, go home. A lot of women, that's a problem, you know, with that mindset. So it's really interesting that the mindset now suggests, if you divert from a line of thinking, then these other groups, then you're the enemy. The line is drawn in the sand.
So this comes from identity politics. I know
Absolutely.
that you're vocal about this issue.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Identity politics works for other groups. You know, it pretty works for Native Americans. It works for the Jewish community. It works. No one comes after the Jewish community. They got to deal with the Anti-Defamation League. No one challenges them. If not, you're going to be an anti-Semite like that. So they've earned that respect through their identity politics, as they should, coming out of what they had to come out of. My thing is, it's turned into something else.
Okay.
You know, it's turned into something else. So now everyone is going into their corners, pointing fingers, crying foul. You've done this to me, you've done that to me, you know, we can't talk anymore.
Okay.
Oh, whoa, wait a minute. So if you just say that person is an anti-Semite with no evidence, or that person is prejudiced, or a bigot, or a racist with no evidence, or it just feels like that, and you say it, then that's all you need.
No evidence required.
That's it? That's all? Just Jan, you're a bigot. Because I say so. Jan, you're lazy. Because I say so.
And that stuff sticks.
Jan, you want a handout because I say so. No. This is ridiculous. We got to have a conversation. And we have to have a sense of civil discourse. We have to come back to that. I don't have to agree with you, like you or need you as my friend, to have a conversation that is going to be beneficial not only to you, to me, our community at large. So when there's no more conversations, then when you run out of words, historically, we know what's next. All right? War.
Right, or something very, very divisive.
Yeah,
which is
where we are.
Right.
Is where we are, you know? And I'm not interested in fomenting a civil war. Nobody wants that. That's a lot of cheap talk. Nobody wants that. Nobody wants that. It's a fantasy. I think it's social media is fomenting and creating. It's Call of Duty. It's delusionals.
Okay.
You know, a lot of people are in these fantasy worlds, and there's a lot of mental illness. Mental illness that think they have these grievances, and they have to go out and do these violent acts, and expect no response, no repercussions from that.
So
that's highly delusional to me.
Is this, what often, in my mind, is tied to identity politics, and I think you're suggesting is this a kind of a victim mentality that people gain? Is this what you're talking about?
Not exactly, because there are victims. There are a group of people in my community, we have been victimized.
Right.
We have been victimized, and there has been no justice. I keep talking about reparations. I'm going to keep talking about reparations.
Sure.
It's a justice claim.
Sure.
The payoff of the original sin. It has nothing to do with handouts. It has nothing to do, whether you like it or not, it has nothing to do with Civil War soldiers dying, because as my mom would say, those are white folk business. It's white folk business. My issue is, why you have to bring us into it? My ancestors was happy over there in West Africa, minding our own business. So you can't say, oh, stay in your place. This is white folk business. We're gonna figure this out, North and South. But when push came to shove, who did they need to put the uniform on to fight? My ancestors. Even in the Confederate.
Sure.
They even put uniforms on their orderlies when it was almost over. So if it's white folk business, just white folk business, then you're probably a white supremacist. So let's not talk about white and black business. Let's talk about business. I'm a businessman. You're a businessman. We're all working together to get a commodity or product done efficiently, right? Coherently. Exploit it. We're all business persons. So when you put identity on it, when you put white on it, you put black on it, you put brown on it, you put red on it, that old construct, political construct, then that's divisive unto itself. It should stop. I feel that it should stop. We all want to be successful. We want our children to be successful. And I'm walking away because I didn't like the way the progressive media was coming after me again. And after I've been so quiet, minding my business, surviving for myself and my family, and still having the time and the wherewithal to care about others other than myself, it was disgusting to me. I didn't get it.
And it was purely because you decided to stand up for the First Step Act.
Stand up for justice, for what was right. It doesn't matter who the president was.
Right.
I'm there supporting the people. But you're turning my supporting the people into identity politics. That's disgusting to me.
Right.
Now I'm offended.
Okay.
Now I'm offended. So, because I'm a strategist, because I'm a father, a husband, a veteran, now you've an activist, have been. Now I'm offended, and now I smell corruption. I smell something that's not right. There's something rotten in Denmark. So now I'm going to walk away too. And I'm going to keep digging until we find out why this is rotten and how we're going to fix it. Because anytime a human being or a law-abiding citizen can be invited to the White House and flown in by Dream Corps and Cut 50 that's been working so hard to address prison reform, led by Kim Kardashian, of course, okay? Just give her credit. She was there, she got us attention. How's that a bad thing? How is that wrong? How did a group of people become villainous because they're helping people get out of federal penitentiary for a $5 bag of marijuana and they're facing life? First time offense. Double life.
Yeah.
And now you got medmens and weed shops selling all up and down my neighborhood in Venice and all over the country, where you can go in like a boutique, like you're buying shoes, and buy marijuana.
And there's still people with
And
life sentences.
Yeah, and a lot of them look like me that never had an opportunity to sit here one day and talk about a film career, our family. Never have that opportunity. But yes, I'm working on something that can give them a second chance. Give these human beings an opportunity. All of them may not succeed. But if you do nothing, then it's guaranteed that these human beings will not succeed, and they don't get to go back to the communities
Right.
and have opportunities and reentry as returning citizens to get jobs that I'm working with the American King Foundation and Angela Stanton King. We're working arduously for those who want to work in the seafood industry. We could take you right out of prison and send you right there and get a job for 3 months, 6 months, however. That's what we're doing. I'm not talking about it, we're doing it. Because I know what I feel like when you're working and you have capital to move or to shape or to even just simply buy food. There's no stress there. But I also know what it's like to have no access, no capital, no way to feed myself and my family. I know that. I know that feeling recently. It's terrifying. It's not fun to be in that place, to be destitute and hoping that you could get a handout from family and friends to survive. I know that personally. I know it very well. It doesn't make you feel good as a human being, as a person, as a man,
Right.
or on any level. So for identity politics to try to crush voices and people who disagree with how you're going about getting what you say you want, well, there's going to be natural pushback from that, as it should be, you know? Because I disagree how you disagree. You know, I disagree how you're going about being disagreeable. That's kind of where Brandon Strock and I, we just don't agree with how you're being disagreeable. And there's evidence where there's been 40, 50 years where things haven't really changed for particular communities. So we have evidence. We evidence. We got Black Plague right downtown Los Angeles. Bubonic plague, people feces, human feces all up and down the street. People dying from a plague that we haven't heard of since the Canterbury Tales. Dysentery, right downtown Los Angeles, right? Under Democratic rule, right? I'm not making this up. You know, I'm safe here on this block. We got airplanes and trucks and buses, water trucks, but
Sure.
pretty safe.
Yeah.
But not everyone is. In one of the most richest countries in the world. And black people, we amass at least 800 billion. Well, that's a lot of money per year that we're contributing to, so it's not that we're not contributors. Even post-slavery. All we're saying is there has been injustices put upon through federal and state law that has impeded a particular people specifically. If you're a Mormon or a Huguenot or Irish that was treated poorly, when you got to America, it was probably a Negro that helped you unload at Ellis Island.
Okay.
But if you have a grievance, hey, by all means, file your specific justice claim against the United States of America and get your reparations if you feel so to do so. But you can't tell me and my community that we can't do it and we can't go for it. It's time.
Okay, so we've had a first step
Yeah.
in all of this,
That's
right?
right.
And then there's, efforts like the one you're involved with the American King Foundation to help people get back on their feet once they get out.
Just last week, if I'm not mistaken, don't quote me on this, but I think it was just last week, President Trump had a meeting about the second chance bill
Okay.
that's out there now that
Right.
I think needs to be voted on, which is the bill, hopefully turn into law, that will say that for returning citizens out of federal prison, it is not to make them penalized any further for being formerly incarcerated
Right.
people, and to help alleviate that stigma,
Right.
basically.
Right.
So he's staying true to it, to criminal reform and particularly prison reform, as best he can. I mean, you're talking about something that's been in place for hundreds and hundreds of years, this draconian system. That was not just bad for African Americans, but in the 20s and 30s, it was bad for the Irish, it was bad for everybody.
Right.
If you were uneducated and you weren't part of the elite, then they had a plan for you. And that was for you to be an indentured servant or be imprisoned, and not about rehabilitation at all. It's just get rid of you and have you working for free. That's what the 13th Amendment needs to be taken a look at. So a lot of people are being convicted harshly so you can lose your freedom. So the 13th Amendment says, well, slavery is bad unless you've been convicted of a crime.
Okay.
So when you look at the 13th Amendment, it's like, oh, okay, so you don't have any rights, you can be a slave, as long as you've been convicted of a crime. You see how that could be abused?
Yeah.
And has
been.
And has been abused?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So Second Chance Act, that's a good next step.
The second chance bill. They
Sorry,
call it.
Second Chance
Yeah.
Bill. Right.
Yeah, though the Second Step Act is being worked on, I think as we speak, by Lewis Reed and Jessica Jackson over at Cut 50 and Van Jones.
Right.
It's amazing what the work that the Cut 50 does is absolutely amazing. They know more about it than any of us here do. I look to them for their leadership, and I'm very excited about this first win with the First Step Act in my lifetime, and I'm looking forward to heading back to the White House again, and have some chirpings and some Twitters and some people talking again. Oh, there he goes again. He must be a Republican. Or whatever gets the job done. I've always been that person. Someone called me on the internet as I'm an intersectionist. I work very hard at being an intersectionist. I'm not sure what that means exactly, but my, if you were to really call me something, if you're going to put a label on me politically, then I probably would be, for most of my life, a centrist libertarian. That's pretty much where my core values are. But they're beginning to shift, not because by choice, but because of other stimuli, other forces that are making me even more conservative now. Because that's crazy to me. I'm old enough to go, that behavior is crazy. I wasn't even saying and doing that in my 20s.
So progressivism, is that what you're talking
I
about?
say progressives, yeah, that's a problem. I think progressives have hijacked, in my opinion, what the true liberals were all about. I felt at one point in my life, 20-some odd years ago, I was a liberal. I don't think that being a liberal today is what it meant 20 years ago at all. You know, I really feel that these progressives, whatever that is, this radical visions of what we want, how we want, because we're the elite, particularly here in the state of California. Everybody has money, so if they believe a certain way, they can enforce that, right, through their votes, through their
And
money.
also this intellectual orthodoxy.
Exactly.
Right. That,
Yeah,
that
you could-
we're
you could-
seeing a lot of, that you've been talking about a lot.
Yeah, and
here.
if you control the media, you can really get your message out there, right? Whatever you want, right? That's how it works. That's why they call it programming.
So this is something that doesn't seem to work for you.
No, I don't feel good about anybody that tells me that I'm smarter than you. Do what I tell you to do, because I'm smarter than you. I'm smarter than you. I'm smarter than you. I'm smarter than you. I'm faster than you. I know better. That's just another form of dictatorship to me. It's like, we can't have a conversation. No, just go sit in the corner. What? No, just go have a time out.
That's so interesting.
Like, whoa, wait a minute. Why? Because
Because I know better.
I know better. You know, who was the guy that the conservatives that was, what's his name? Hinckley. What's it? William. He always got into it with.
Buckley?
Yeah, William F. Buckley. He always got into it with this other writer. I saw a great documentary on him, and he really gets into it. But that is almost, there's no William F. Buckley actually explaining what we're really about. And then you have someone like James Baldwin going saying, I understand that, but this is what my experience is. And we had a conversation.
Right.
We had a conversation
Right.
about it. You know?
Whereas this way, it's my way or the highway.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's,
I see.
it's like, what is that? You know? America is just not what it was in the 50s. It's not what it was in the 60s. Not what it was in the 70s. Not what it was in the golden ages that some people wanted to be in the 80s. We're not there. It's not even in what I loved the most was the 90s. I actually believe Clinton was the first black president. I actually believe I was going to be working in Hollywood in movies like Love Jones and Romeo Must Die. I believe I was going to be a huge star and black actor can be taken off in front of. I'll just be an actor. I actually believed that in the 90s because I was working so much and we all believed it. We were led to believe that. It was capital, supportive of all the things that we wanted to do to fulfill our dreams. So I remember that. And then it got dark, you know, with hip hop and Tupac and Biggie's murders and things like our freedom. All of a sudden we can't be free anymore. So the biggest leaders that's talking about things that are corrupt, they're all being killed. So we're being silenced in a different way. You know, I'm from the product of that. So whenever we're talking about not revolution, but just true freedom, all of a sudden it's get preempted. Like, no, you don't get to talk about freedom. Freedom doesn't belong to you.
You can only talk about it a certain way.
Yeah.
And if you, yeah.
You know, yeah, it's like, for example, Tommy Loren, you know, she follows me because I'm a huge Trump supporter. Like, I don't know where you get that from, but whatever. I Trump the first step back. So I started talking, she says a comment about what reparations, you know, about the Democrats are just, you know, handouts. And I have issue with that, Tommy Loren. You know, I like you, but, you know.
But let's have a discussion about it.
Yeah, so she unfollows me. So I find a post of how she said she was happy to get a job. She lost her job, got a job with her mom. You know, I was like, that's a handout or nepotism, but I'm not mad. So why are you mad or sending this message out with your powerful platform and your base by saying reparations is bad? I don't believe that. And if you do think that, let's, Tommy Loren, let's have a debate about it. Let's have a conversation about it. Don't unfollow me on Twitter because now you've given me something to respond to. Because you followed me when you thought I was thinking every way, the exact same way you're thinking, which I don't agree with everything, but you're a successful person. I believe in your trajectory and that you're working hard to do what you do. But because I don't believe in one thing or your way or your base way, then, okay, we don't have anything else to talk about. That's a problem. And it's a problem because she's also a part of the Walkaway movement with Brandon Stroud that was here in LA talking about we need to go into the communities and get black people to become Republicans. But there are a lot of black people who are hurting that could benefit from the wealth gap shrinkage through reparations. It's a justice claim. It's not a handout. It's not welfare. It's not affirmative action. It's not any of these things that LBJ put out there that would imprison people even further with these handouts. That was by design, okay? If you feed a stray cat long enough, that cat's going to keep coming back. But if you don't train it, it may just scratch you. Because all you're doing is feeding it and not giving it a real opportunity. You're not training it. You're not getting it provided to fend for itself. Then you're killing that. You're killing that.
The issue of reparations is really interesting to me because certainly if any group has a claim for reparations in this country, it's Black Americans. It's obvious, right?
Yeah.
I think that to me, the information around this has been heavily weaponized, right? When you talk about reparations, you're not talking about handouts, but I think a lot of people out there,
I've turned the
for example,
narrative.
conservatives, when they hear reparations, they imagine some kind of grand system of handouts or something like that. It might not have to be that,
Right.
It might not have to be that. Now, and so it's not. I think that the challenge is precisely what you're saying. That there isn't an opportunity. Let's have an honest discussion about this, not one that immediately says
Goes to-
you're on this side and you're on that side,
Yeah.
and there's no possibility
Yeah, It's
to
like,
discuss.
it wasn't my ancestors died in the Civil War. Again, that's white folk business. If you never brought my ancestors over here, there would be no need for the Civil War. There was no one else that you could imprison. The Native Americans kept running away because this is their land. You're not from here. The average European, you're immigrants. What are you talking about?
Of course.
The founding fathers were immigrants. What are you talking about?
Of course they were immigrants.
And you were illegal immigrants. So we're just going to go past our American history to get to a point of view that makes you feel good. And if you don't feel good about paying taxes to people of color, we have to ask them why. And that's where I want my show, hopefully I can get on, where I want to go into people's homes, in their kitchen, and have these conversations like, why do you really feel that way? You don't have to say it on Twitter, you don't have to say it on Facebook, but tell me, what's really bugging you about giving your tax monies for reparations? And I got a feeling it's because I don't believe in that group of people anymore based on what the narrative that I've been seeing on the 5 o'clock news. They all got their pants sagging, they all look like they're violent, they all look like they're doing drugs, and that's the narrative that they keep seeing. So they don't see my son. They don't see my legacy. They don't see me. They see. Again, we go back to the liberal media. I got a funny feeling that if people really had a real honest conversation away from that television, away from CNN, about a group of people that are trying to survive or just trying to play the hand that they've been dealt, that's just who we are as a people. And I'm interested in hearing all the sides. I don't want to silence anyone. I want to, and that's what Brandon and I are talking about. We want to hear it. All right, we all came here on different boats. But God damn it, we're in the same boat now. And it's all coming down to 2020. And then 2024. And boy, it's going to be one hell of a fight. I'm looking forward to it.
So speaking of 2020, tell me about what you're looking forward to.
Well, I have a little idea that I'm going to come out with in February, Black History Month. I reserve comment.
Okay.
Yeah, but I have a plan that I'm going to roll out with a team of people that we've been working on. Because a lot of people have been asking me, what are we walking away to, Isaiah? The Republican Party? Or the Green Party? I got a plan.
Okay, well, we'll be watching for that. But meanwhile, what other plans do you have? And producing and possibly acting? I know there's both on the producing and acting side.
Oh, no, I'm on this show that is very, very controversial called P-Valley, based on a play by Katori Hall, who's my boss, who I had to talk to today.
Okay.
To talk about a couple of things and just checking in on how we're going for the first season. We're all about to wrap up the first 8 episodes. We're about to wrap up this season. I play a Mississippi mayor. I play a mayor that is very political and trying to do the best he can do for his city of Chucalissa, Mississippi.
Okay.
And how he's trying to provide for them and how people agree with him and don't agree with him, but he really believes, in what he's doing. He believes it's the right thing, So really tricky storytelling, very provocative storytelling, very provocative setting, but that all comes out in January 2020.
Sounds just a natural fit for you, right?
Yeah, man. Controversy, man. I love it. I really do. I like it hot. I'm not gonna lie. I feel really proud of a character that I've portrayed. These young up-and-coming actors, Elijah Kelly and Thomas Q. Jones, who was a wonderful running back for the Chicago Bears. They lost that year, the Super Bowl, but he ended up playing with other teams, 4 other teams. But he's a really wonderful actor. He reminds me a lot of of Jim Brown
Okay.
and me put together. So I've been mentoring him a bit, really believe in him, Thomas Q. Jones, and the three of us, we lead this wonderful story playing fathers and criminals, but brothers, in a wonderful piece called Brothers on a show called Tales, the second season on BET, which also airs on July 2nd on MTV, UK, BET International, the UK, pretty much around the world on July 2nd. And the big caveat with that is this show surrounds storytelling around songs, new songs from different artists. But we open with Kanye West's new song called Brothers.
Okay.
So the world will hear a new song from Kanye West on July 2nd around the world, MTV and BET simulcast. So that's becoming a very big deal. I've been tweeting about it and talking about that as well. So yeah, I'm kind of cooling my heels, looking forward to see how people respond to my performance in that. Got a couple of movies, Cutthroat City, Keys to the City, one that is being distributed by BET, but we're going to do a theatrical release hopefully in September. RZA has this wonderful film that's starring Demetrius Shipp, who played Tupac. There's lovely other actors from Dope and The Get Down, Shamik Moore, and we got Terrence Howard, Ethan Hawke, Wesley Snipes, myself, Rob Morgan. We're all in this movie directed by RZA. Hopefully it's going to be coming out hopefully this September as well. Yeah, Bison, really looking forward to that character, a Buffalo Soldier that's telling that story. It's a franchisable piece. Kevin Grievous is the writer. He gave us the franchise with Kate Beckinsale, Underworld.
Right.
Same writer and creator of that. So we're working still arduously hard on getting that done. I have a couple of docu-hybrid called No More Chains 2 with Ari Squires that we're looking at various platforms, either TV One, BET, or maybe hopefully Amazon or Hulu will get that out there. Another docu-series I have of a mother who lost her son, Darren Seals. He was a Ferguson activist.
Okay.
And tell her story about her other son that she lost, that she didn't know was still alive. So that's going to be called A Mother's Tale of Two Sons, that I'm really passionate about.
Yeah. Oh, that's incredible. You've got. It sounds like you're going to be very, very busy for the next few years. I mean, aside from the acting work, aside from these extra projects, but also all the work on taking the first step act into the second step and so forth.
At the end of the day, I just want to be of service. Yeah. I'm at that age where it doesn't matter whether I agree with you on everything or not. It's not that serious. And what I'm saying is, why are we making it so serious? To be disagreeable. Oh man, something's wrong. So yeah, we need to take a look at that.
Well, it sounds like we have a lot to agree on, and wonderful to have you on American Thought Leaders.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it, man. Appreciate it.